Alright, what's good everybody? So this segment's special because I'm doing it for my sociology class. I'm doing it for the final, and pretty much we have to cover some sort of topic related to sociology, get facts, data, evidence, and whatever. And my professor was like, yeah, if you want to promote your YouTube channel and do a live segment on whatever you're going on about, I'm like, it's like, yeah, I'll do that. And yeah, so if you're someone from my sociology class and you're watching this, yeah, check out my channel. It's here. I just hit 100, and that's really cool. So if you want to help me go further beyond, I'd really appreciate that. Anyways, today we're talking about religion and televangelists and all those weird, wacky people. I think that religion is something that is very dangerous, especially when put in the wrong hands. In the hands of very powerful people who have influence and can even control the government. So I think that the phenomena of religion, it's actually shrinking. I'm pretty sure there's more arising, especially in younger generations, if I remember that correctly, but I didn't prepare that statistic for it. So we're going to be talking about two people that are very religious. We have Kenneth Copeland, and just as a sort of introduction of like the type of person we're dealing with, we're just going to watch this short video. I mean, we're not going to watch all of it. It's 11 minutes, but we're going to watch just like a little snippet of it.
And getting back to the comment, you said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers.
Can you explain what you meant by that term then? Just explain, because it's really simple. You said you didn't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. What did you mean?
And then it just kind of goes in circles, and he says that he's entitled to his private jets because he carries God's message, and that's really important, and his safety is a priority, and that there's risks of going on commercial airlines, and it's interesting to say the least. So that's sort of how we're gonna preface this. That's the intro. Now we're gonna move on to like, this is you know, as of today, okay, I'm gonna put a warning. You're gonna see some, I mean, I think this clip in particular is very disturbing, and we're also gonna go over some transphobia. So if you don't want to see that, you might want to sit this one out. But yeah, content warning. This is a pretty disturbing clip if I had to give my opinion on it.
Media said Joe Biden's president. Ha 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 ha.
Okay, yeah, you can notice how the crowd even kind of got tired of it, and they started like slowing down. And yeah, if we look at this, I don't know, I think the evidence doesn't point to his narrative. I just don't. Maybe that's just my opinion. I don't know. But yeah, this is a televangelist. And what televangelists are, if you don't know, pretty much they're usually mega churches, which mega churches are huge, I guess, organizations that amass a large amount of money in exchange for faith-based services. So yeah, he has a mega church and he broadcasts it, which makes him a televangelist, and he's a pastor, and he basically sucks in a bunch of money from all of his followers, and it's so much to the point to where he can get private jets, and he has a little airfield in Texas and all that. Now, because there's so many people that watch this and donate, I think that this is extremely harmful, because right now he's blatantly stating misinformation. Like, it's just not true. We're gonna watch one more clip. This one's kind of funny, but it's also a little disturbing. So we're gonna watch this real quick.
Judgment right now.
Because we have...
In the name of Jesus.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Standing in the office of the prophet of God, I execute judgment on you, COVID-19.
Oh, Ramash.
I execute judgment on you, Satan, you destroyer, you killer. You get out, we break your power, you get this nation. I demand judgment on you. I demand.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. I don't really think this is working out. If we look at the stats, this is from All Time America. We got like the biggest amount, pretty much. It's pretty much a third wave. It's bad. 12.5 million cases, 258k deaths. That's, yeah, I don't think he really did much by doing this. But the thing is, people believe it. And the fact that people are able to just deny reality like this and to think they are contributing to helping a problem when they're not, they're just perpetuating an unhealthy way of thinking. The data and the facts are just not on these people's sides, and I honestly think that they are manipulating their audiences to amass this amount of money, and by promising these grand things of like, yeah, we will execute COVID-19 live right here. I need all of your prayer power and help to get me to do it. Or, you know, if they send like little prayer packages with like rosaries and holy water or whatever, they sell this stuff on TV, and they also sell recordings of their sermons and it's just, they have so many ways they make money, and I think that it's very unethical to take advantage of people's ignorance and perpetuate and make them in an information cycle of misinformation and ignorance. I think that that's extremely harmful, and a bit of a hot take I would have is that even though there's a few extremists that are, you know, evangelicals and are extremely dangerous and they promote a lot of misinformation, there are lots of good Christians. There are lots of good religious people who do not impose their beliefs on anyone else. They're not homophobic or transphobic or whatever. They just live their life and they keep their beliefs to themselves and don't try to push them into political or sociological discussions. I still think that in a way they are doing some sort of harm. I wouldn't say they're intentionally doing this harm, and I don't want to fault them for it, and I don't want to tell them to stop what they're doing. But the way they are doing harm is they're normalizing this sort of group. By normalizing the umbrella of Christianity or Catholicism or whatever, it lets these people have something to hide behind as far as, you know, genuinely good people. These people can say, oh, I'm part of a group with all these good people, they don't do anything bad, and then they can continue to be bad and lie and say awful things, which we're going to see more of. Additionally, these people tend to be very conservative, and personally, I think that the body of work done by a large majority of sociologists goes against conservative values because it explains why things are the way they are to an extent, like why someone would be trans or gay, or like what religion does to people on a sociological scale. I have data here from Pew Research that I prepared. If we look at evangelicals, the Republican leaning is very significant compared to, like, if you looked at agnostics and atheists, they're very Democrat and independent leaning. And I think that Republicans honestly do perpetuate misinformation, and that is a good metric of harm for me. You know, if you're blatantly lying and misrepresenting facts like the election, that's bad, among other things. Like, I don't know what it takes for these people to believe that Joe Biden won the election. There's this article here that the Trump administration officially authorizes the Biden transition. So we have Emily Murphy. She's a GSA Trump appointee, and she reluctantly wrote this letter that basically establishes that apparently Biden is the president. And yeah, then Trump tweeted, "Remember, the GSA has been terrific and Emily Murphy has done a great job, but the GSA does not determine who the next president of the United States will be." So even Trump is in denial still. After his people are pretty much conceding, there are still people that think that the election has been, you know, tampered with. There have been many court cases on this, and I don't think any of them, maybe one out of like 30. I didn't prepare the data for that, but there are court cases that the Trump legal team is pushing, and the people like Rudy Giuliani, who are in charge of it, are pushing back once they get in court, because you're allowed to lie in public, on YouTube, on Twitter. You're allowed to lie to people and make all these ridiculous claims of like fraud that don't hold up and don't match reality at all. You're allowed to say that as much as you want, but once you get into court, you're pretty much under oath. You know, you'll perjure yourself if you lie, and that's why they push back on it once they get in court. But what it does is it makes a bunch of people who believe something that isn't true, and it's really bad. Televangelists and big, large religious figures who have massive influence do this stuff all the time, and it really shapes people's opinions, and it has a huge impact on the culture. I wanted to bring up the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has a lot of Catholics, as we can see, and they're mostly right-wing. And, you know, there's articles about how they might try to roll back progress made on gay marriage and trans rights, and Trump literally went to the Supreme Court and asked, like, is there something we can do about that? Religion has a huge impact, and these people gain power to change the country substantially. And I think it's worrying. I think it's something that we should think about, talk about, call out. It's a very interesting topic, and I think why this happens is a lot of people, they're born into religion. They don't think about the consequences of religion, like the religion that they're born into. They just kind of believe it, and then when they see more religious stuff, it just kind of keeps feeding into that. So next person we're going to talk about is Rick Wiles. He's not, I don't think he has like a mega church, but he's a pastor and he streams church stuff. He's very religious. If we're just going to look at his Wikipedia page real quick, he said the coronavirus was God's death angel and plagues are one of the last steps of judgment. So religion motivates a lot of what this person thinks. And it's true for a lot of other Americans and just people in general, that religion motivates a lot of what people think, and it is their mental framework of how they view the world and interpret everything. So we're gonna cover one more. Rick Wiles calls on Pennsylvania to chase transgender health secretary out of state. So there's a health secretary in Pennsylvania who's a trans woman, and this is what Rick Wiles has to say on it. Content warning: transphobia.
That's a man
in a dress.
in a dress.
Not a dress, probably.
You're mentally ill.
Okay. Quite the title. This is from Right Wing Watch. This isn't the original source. This is a channel that I believe collects a bunch of information on conservatives. So yeah, I'm not watching it from the original source. But the first claim: trans people are mentally ill. Being trans is not classified as a mental disorder in the DSM-5. However, gender dysphoria, I'm pretty sure is. But there's nothing wrong with having a mental illness, especially if transitioning is how you alleviate said illness. Like, there are people with depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, whatever, like they have these illnesses and they need help. And for trans people, the solution is to transition. That's just the medical consensus on that. We're gonna move on.
Dr. Levine, you're mentally ill, and no normal person should listen to you.
Okay. This is an ad hom. Basically, no normal person should listen to you because you're mentally ill. Think about that. I mean, if his definition of mental illness is just being trans, I'm trans, I shouldn't be listened to, even if I say something true, like the sky is blue. By his logic, he would have to not listen to me. That is the kind of logic he's pushing here. And it's very fragile and it's very weak and very easy to pull apart. But these people have large audiences, and this affects all of the viewers who watch this stuff daily. They see stuff like this, and then this is how they think, and then they go out into the real world and then they continue to cause harm.
You need mental health counseling. You need deliverance.
Yeah, so most trans people get mental health counseling, and the mental health counseling is like, oh, you're probably trans if your experience as a cis person is this abnormal and working this poorly for you. Yeah, you're probably trans. Some people don't need therapy to figure it out, but it's always good to get.
To the people of Pennsylvania, you are absolutely insane if you let that transvestite freak.
Okay. A transvestite just refers to someone who cross-dresses. It's very different from transgender, and again, being blatantly transphobic just to call someone a freak. This is a man of God. He's got the little cross pin, and he's calling people freaks. Transphobia and bigotry in general is just derived from a discomfort of groups that aren't understood. Like, everyone who's transphobic, they just think that trans people are weird and they are insecure about that, and just they lash out and they don't know how to deal with it. So yeah, that's that.
Rule your life. What he just told you he's
Okay,
going to do
misgendering. That's wrong.
to you starting this week, November 20th. You're going to obey that transvestite freak? Seriously? In the state of Pennsylvania?
Mr. Levin has laid out a caste system, a COVID caste system. What he snuck into that...
Okay, again, calling her Mr. and saying him, this guy's just as bad.
A little operation, this attrition.
Chase that freak out of the state. Chase it out of the state.
Okay, and then we get blatant dehumanization. Super messed up. To these people, you're an it. If you're trans, you're an it. Okay, and then when normal people see this, and then they come across a trans person in their life, inevitably, especially if you're online, you will inevitably come across a trans person. I think personally that the statistics for the population of trans people is underreported. I'm not in the statistics. Every trans person I know is not included in the statistics. I think that people inevitably do it. Meet at least one trans person. So all of these viewers of this guy, they will not think of the trans people they meet in their lives as human. Think about that. And this person's beliefs are motivated by religion. This can't be defended. You can't defend this at all. This is awful. This is abhorrent. And personally, I wouldn't be comfortable being in a group that has people like this who also identify with that group. But that's just me. That's my personal take.
Rise up in Pennsylvania and chase that freak out of the state. You don't have to tolerate this stuff.
All right, that's it. Yeah, a lot of people point to biology when being transphobic. They say trans people don't listen to biology, so I thought sharing this meme would be pretty funny. We got the genetics textbook. Genetics is a branch of biology, if you did not know. We open it up. Gender is a category assigned by the individual or others based on behavior and cultural practices. One's gender need not coincide with one's biological sex. This is the academic understanding of gender, and you could also see this in the sociological definition as well. These are different concepts. It's not the same thing. It's not a biology issue. It's an identification issue when it comes to trans people, and people are so misinformed and don't understand, and that's why I'm making this video. I want to show that televangelists do extreme harm. They're mostly Republicans. They perpetuate misinformation. Republicans also appropriate misinformation, and there's a huge crossover between conservatism and religion. I mean, they're inherently tied together. That's just how it is. And so I wanted to speak out about it, show a little bit of the data, show a little bit of how these people are objectively wrong. And yeah, I hope that was a good video. It was a little bit long. I think the assignment said it had to be 5 minutes, but there goes that. I guess I'll take points off for that. But I will try to edit it down as much as I can for when I submit the final project. So yeah, I think that's the end of the segment. If you enjoyed, thank you for watching, and If you haven't subscribed, I highly recommend you do that because I am dedicated to uploading a lot. So yeah, epic based.